Harriman, Ethan Strimling. Guys, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Glad to be here.
We're happy to have you. So we just listened to the president speak. Their main takeaway from his speech.
Obviously, he's doing a very good job just trying to make sure that the story around the economy starts to shift and people start to recognize that while we still have a lot of work to do, the economy's growing, unemployment is down, inflation is down, and highlighting a great business in Auburn that's been doing good work for a long time, employs a lot of people, and really hopefully projects the future of the state.
Phil?
I thought it was a great campaign stop. It's presented as a presidential address. He made that balance work for the audience and for the viewers of News Center Maine. And I think we cannot underestimate the courage and perseverance of Kathy Leonard, who founded this company and has been through thick and thin for decades. That's the heart and soul of what makes America great. It's not the politicians and the regulators in Augusta or Washington. It's people like Kathy Leonard.
Yeah, she spoke when this started, just before the president. Kathy there at Auburn Manufacturing said she lost, about 30% of her domestic product because of outside influence from China, and worked through that process. You mentioned, Phil, that this felt a little bit certainly like a campaign stop as well. So I'm curious, we heard a lot about the economy. It's going strong. We're improving there. I think there are plenty of Mainers right now who would say, well, when I go to fill up my car, when I fill the heating fuel in my house, when I go grocery shopping, it doesn't feel like the economy is doing well. So where is that balance? Who is the president speaking to and trying to attract?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Brian. And I don't want to get into technical wonky-ism, but when they say the inflation index is whatever percent, there's a few things that aren't included in that index, and they are the things you've just mentioned. So Mainers, regardless of where they are in the socioeconomic spectrum, when they go to the gas station or the grocery store or their energy bill, they're not seeing what they're hearing.
Well, a lot of those things you just mentioned are actually in the inflation rate. There are some things that are not, of course, but that's consistent over time. But I think what you're saying, one of the things that we are seeing that's very difficult is that, the profits that have been gained in this economy, the growth that we've seen in these companies and these corporations is not being shared enough with the workers. And I think that's part of why he talked about making sure that workers have the ability to unionize, that he's really trying to focus on how do we get workers higher wages. So yes, it's true. While the economy is not as good as we want it to be, but there's a lot of corporate profit out there. We have to figure out how to get that to the people.
Guys, thank you. We want to toss things over to Zach Blanchard, who has been at Auburn Manufacturing all day. Zach, what are you hearing from people at the plant there?
Well, Amanda, the crowd here is really energized. There were several moments where people stood up on their feet and cheered and applauded. The president really sending that message home about the importance of manufacturing in Maine. And actually, we're going to hand it over to the president now, who is set to sign an executive order.
All right. I'm signing the executive order, federal research and development in support of domestic manufacturing in the United States, which means more jobs. Good.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I don't have to pass it down?
No, you got it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your visit. Secret pens. I gotta do that myself. Yes, we do. Oh, God love you. Thank you.
You're stuck, I'm coming back.
Yes, I got the
So that was President Joe Biden signing an executive order here at Auburn Manufacturing, Inc., joined by Governor Janet Mills, Senator Angus King, Congressman Jared Golden, Congresswoman Shelley Pingree, as well as Auburn Mayor Jason Levesque. the president here touting the importance of investing in American-made. He says this executive order will continue to help companies all across the country and here in Maine. He says that the economy has rebounded from the pandemic under his administration, and businesses like Auburn Manufacturing Incorporated have benefited from that. This is a business that has really fought back against China, one that is woman-led, and has really kind of staked its claim in the industrial manufacturing of industrial-grade heat-protective textiles and cloths used in everything from welding to insulating pipes. You can see the president is greeting supporters here as well. As he makes his way to his next event, which is scheduled in Freeport tonight. There's been a lot of talk about this being an official visit, but there is no denying the president is on the campaign trail. Right now he is taking the time to take those photos, take those selfies. There's been some kids in the crowd as well, and he will be heading to a campaign event in Freeport later where he will be meeting with some wealthy donors there. So we can't lose sight that 2024 is right around the corner. For now, Brian and Amanda, I'll send things back to you.
Zach Blanchard live in Auburn alongside the president. Zach, our thanks to you for walking us through today's event. We want to come back for a moment with our political analysts. You know, I'm curious, there's so much talk here about manufacturing and kind of injecting that and focusing on that here. If you drive right now from Lewiston, Rumford, Mexico, Skowhegan, you'll see what manufacturing used to be here. Is this hope for those communities, or is this hope for places like Auburn Manufacturing that are established and thriving right now?
I think it's for both, but look, I mean, that economy that existed at those times no longer exists, and we're not going to be going back to that economy, but we want to try to figure out what's the next generation of manufacturing, and I think that's what President Biden is talking about. That's what the infrastructure package is investing in, the $1.4 trillion that's going to be going into the economy of the United States for the next 10 years. It's to find the next manufacturing. We're not going back to the paper industry, but hopefully there's going to be something else.
You know, I agree. It's the past and the present for Auburn Manufacturing, which is the new textile manufacturer of our era. Maine has some of the best fiber in its trees in North America. Of course, we're going to need to manufacture that for various products. And I think if you look back through the lens of history, the reason we lost some of these economies, some of it was because of their pollution behavior, which needed to be corrected, but a lot of it was through regulation and referendums, and these companies that were manufacturing said, between workers' comp, regulations, and taxes, we get it, you don't want us, we're out of here. And now we're saying, all right, we've rethought this. Let's bring these people back if we can. Let's create these economic opportunities, because Maine people and some of our best resources are still here.
Well, but one of the things, real quick, it was also because we put a lot of free trade agreements in place, and that allowed a lot of these businesses to leave, as President Biden just mentioned, to go and produce their products for way less and charge a lot more over here. So it's not simply the government coming in and regulating too much. It's actually the government coming in and saying, okay, we're fine if you go away.
Let's wrap with this, because you mentioned it, Phil, not a campaign stop, but it felt a lot like a campaign stop, and Zach talked about it.
It's like the non-fundraiser fundraising
Exactly.
event.
And he's in an area that tends to lean a little more conservative.
Yeah.
Who is he appealing to by being there? Is he trying to get more of the independent voters who maybe are sick of former President Trump's antics, or who's he appealing to?
Yeah, brilliant observation, Amanda. I think if you think of it strategically, who does this help? He's in the 2nd district today that went for the Trump administration. That's one electoral college that he might be able to turn around. And where do you do that? Where the densest population in the 2nd district is, Lewiston, Auburn. Who else does it help? Jared Golden. So I think the fact that he came to this location today was great for the workers in the local community, but it was also a very brilliant political move as well.
Yeah, I mean, remember, the 2nd congressional district was literally the only electoral vote that Joe Biden lost in all of the Northeast, all the way down to Virginia. All the rest of it's blue. So the fact that he's in that district, that's no coincidence, of course. Also, he's got to help Jared Golden a little bit. Jared Golden needs every single Democrat in the 2nd CD to vote for him. after they vote for Joe Biden in order for him to try to keep his seat.
You know, I'd add one more thing. I thought it was very a blinding glimpse of the obvious, if you will, that he talked about all these bipartisan efforts that they were doing in Washington, and actually Senator King was saying similar remarks before we went on the air. Why wasn't Susan Collins invited today?
She might have been invited. I don't know if she would have shown up, but
Certainly was absent from this, yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a campaign event, though.
But Phil and I are very good at the blinding sense of the obvious. Yes, that's kind of why you bring us here, I think.
We appreciate it.
We do. Phil Harriman, Ethan Strimling, thank you for
You're
joining
welcome.
us.
Good to see you.
We will have much more on the president's visit to Maine tonight on News Center Maine. We'll see you right back here starting at 4.